we will call the meeting to order.
So I'm going to record these. I'm recording to the cloud, right?
Yeah. And if you would join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item of business is to approve the minutes from the November 21st workshop meeting and the December 2nd Board of Trustees special workshop meeting. Everyone had a chance to review?
Yes.
May I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Second?
Second?
Thank you, Kim. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. I would like a motion to go into executive session to review matters pertaining to an employment review and a union grievance. May I have a motion?
So moved?
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And so we will all disappear for, should be able to do this in 15 minutes, maybe 10. And we'll be back.
I think it just jinxed us.
Okay, I would
Except for
take
mole walkers.
a motion to reopen public session.
Some are even older than
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific. Okay. On to regular business. All right, so we have, I have, which I probably haven't shared, a resolution to make some adjustments to non-union, I don't think I gave you this. This is a resolution, and this is Resolution 42. And I'll just read it. This is a resolution to raise non-union village employee wages, whereas certain village employees are not under a union contract, where I said village employees have earned a raise in pay through dedication to their work and length of service. Now therefore be it resolved that the following employees will receive the following increases effective 6/1/24 except as noted. Clerk to the Justice Rebecca Kent, a 3% increase. Court intern Simone Rosenberg, increase to reflect new minimum wages, will be effective 1/1/25. So she will go from $15 an hour to $15.50. Rebecca goes to $22.62. Police and building clerk / typist Lara Hart, 3% increase to $28.20. Deputy clerk, special projects, Doris Balachik Shuing, I don't think I pronounced that right, 3% increase to $19.11. Deputy clerk Diana Devons, a 3% increase to $17.51. Village intern Eli Stowey to reflect minimum wage as of 1/1/25 will go up to $15.50. Part-time laborer Sean Morrissey will go from $16.70 to $18 an hour, and that's effective today. Account clerk Angela Dortis will go from $25 an hour to $26.50. And then finally, we have village clerk Jennifer Kavanaugh. In recognition of her increased responsibility with the water department and the addition of the sewer department, her pay will increase to $28 an hour. May I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Kim. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I will send this to you.
Thank you.
Once I find it. I put it somewhere. Okay, we did that. All right, the second thing is we have a memorandum of agreement between the Village of Red Hook and the United Public Service Employees Union. This is relating to the police department. And I'll just read the resolution. Whereas the collective bargaining agreement between the employer and UPSEU expired on May 31st, 2024, whereas the parties have engaged in good faith negotiations in an effort to arrive to an amicable resolution to grievance number G-24027, Village of Red Hook / Tyrone Lawson, filed March 18, 2024. And whereas the parties have reached a tentative settlement and further wish to commit such to writing. And now therefore, in consideration of the mutual covenants contained herein, the parties hereby stipulate and agree as follows. In full satisfaction of the aforementioned grievance, the village agrees to hire Officer Tyrone Lawson to a full-time position as a police officer with the Village of Red Hook Police Department, or convert his full-time hourly status to that of full-time police officer. Officer Tyrone Lawson's date of full-time hire shall be June 1, 2024, and he shall receive retroactive pay to that date at the rate of a full-time police officer in accordance with the current CBA/MOA, which will be $30.36 an hour. Other than retroactive compensation described in paragraph 2, Officer Lawson shall receive and be entitled to all benefits, rights, and protections set forth in the collective bargaining agreement as of the date of ratification of this agreement by both parties. The parties agree and acknowledge that nothing contained in this agreement shall be deemed as past practice or otherwise binding on the village with respect to any similar situation that may arise in the future. That is the MOA. So I would take a motion to authorize me to sign this MOA.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I just want to take this moment to acknowledge the good work that Officer Lawson does, and we are thrilled to have him as a full-time officer in the Village of Red Hook. Okay. Next item, Indigenous history, and I will turn that over to Mel Gorka.
Okay, so it's in with my reports, which did not make it to the binder. If you want to follow along.
You did make one.
Oh, we put it down in the binders?
It's your report. I don't think it's your report.
It's not in the binder, it's in the packet.
Yes, I just meant that they wouldn't find it in the binder. I put it in the binder. Sorry.
Oh, is this a new piece of paper that I haven't seen yet?
No.
I thought it- Okay.
You had just put it on top of the binder.
Oh, yes, yes.
Just
because
totally,
I-
yes, yes, yes. I just meant that I did not meet the deadline,
You
everybody.
do have that piece of paper somewhere.
Which, the proposal or the letter?
The proposal. It's in the last page of my
Oh,
report.
the proposal's in the binder.
You know, that's just special for you, because you left it there, so I left it. There it is.
Nice to know.
Anyway, there's an article that, so I'm just going to read off the. So at first glance, it may seem that devoting village resources to hire a historian is outside of our purview. However, the state of New York deems that making our shared history available to the public as vital to the public interest. It is one of our mandated duties when we assign to a public historian for a municipality every year. In 1919, Governor Al Smith signed Law 5707, known as Historian's Law, which mandates that each town, village, and city assign a person to the position of public historian. In the past years, we've had Mayor's professor and village resident Sally Dwyer McNulty act as our village historian. When the committee started this project in 2022, I emailed her asking for recommendations, and it has been experts like her that have helped us realize we would need to work with a historian who specializes in Indigenous history. The challenge has been that there aren't local historians who specialize in this area. Those historical summaries we do have for the Red Hook refer broadly to the Indigenous community's existence before European settlement, which is good yet limited. The committee seeks a more detailed inquiry that also includes resources to connect with those Indigenous communities today. Communities are strengthened when they know, understand, and talk openly about their history. We're connected to history as we live in its legacy, so knowledge of how we got here allows us important perspectives on our present. Public historian Heather Bruegel is a well-known specialist and educator in Indigenous history. She has worked in the Hudson Valley for other institutions. Her vast experience means she comes to this sensitive history with knowledge and sources that local historians can't access. Additionally, Bruegel has experience sharing and teaching Indigenous history with the public at large. For reference, I've attached a Hudson River View article that reviews that experience in the institutions where she has shared it. How we center the stories we tell ourselves is a reflection of our values. The board's approval of this project proposal will be a demonstration of our shared belief that the village serves our community best when we lead with integrity, taking opportunities to craft inclusive, visionary projects for public benefit. And we also have a committee member that came as well to talk about the project. Do you guys mind if she speaks about it?
I don't think that,
comment, but yeah.
yep, no, I think that would be fun.
If you don't mind, I'll read the letter that I submitted. I've been a member of the Human Relations Committee since June 2024, and the topic of Indigenous history in Red Hook was the first I became active in researching as a new member. While other members had reached out many times to experts at Bard College, it was extremely difficult to get a return response to questions or to set up time to discuss issues related to the history of the Mohegan-Muncie community presence in our area. I myself reached out to several historical societies on both sides of the river with no successful outcome. I visited the Stockbridge Museum of the Mohegan-Muncie Band and got information of their migration from Stockbridge to the Hudson Valley. But again, there was no one to discuss information gathering with, to go over any further information, since many of the museums and historical societies are run by volunteers and their offices are all open sporadically. I do think this project cannot move forward without the knowledge of the society or the area Indigenous people, or without the Native American guidance to maintain the respect and dignity of the land that the Mohegan-Muncie Nation had for this area. To honor their part in the history of the area, I recommend that this proposal be approved in order to use the expertise of Ms. Heather Brugel to provide the most efficient use of time and resources that will satisfy the expectations of our committee. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here tonight.
And then the proposal is on that last page of my report. It's the actual from the historian herself.
I'll just pipe in that if you look right to the cost, which is often what I do, the cost is $3,500, but the timeline and the payment schedule has not yet been worked out. So we have $1,000 in the budget already for the Human Resources Committee. I don't even think you spent your whole $1,000 last year.
Yeah, I don't think we spent any last year. Yeah.
So what I, from a funding standpoint, I would plan to have us use $1,000 this year, and then in the budgeting process, we would just allow for $2,500 next year. As you may remember, we did not use all of our fund balance that we had approved using last year, so I know for sure that we will have additional fund balance available to use next year.
Are there any examples, like looking over the proposal? I know we sort of touched briefly on it at our workshop last month about like what the sort of like narratives are that she's proposing, or like actual. I did some research on her and came across some of her work and her articles and her research and her work with institutions and museums, but I didn't really see any work with municipalities on the history. And I found a handful of reports about the indigenous populations in our area, specifically in Red Hook, and the divide between the Wappingers tribes and the Mohegan tribes. And so I'm curious, so one, like what examples are that she would be like implementing so that we have an idea specifically of what the money goes to, but then also secondly, like what does she have a specific attack, like sort of like plan of attack that would get her more information than what is already out there and already reported on from our historians who have covered it?
So one is that, in the proposal here, one is that she'll be doing the sort of like the history that's on summary on the website, right? So that she'll be looking into historical sources, and I don't know specifically exactly her parameters that she's going to go about, but she's the historian and she's the one that has worked in this area and worked with different this stuff before. So on that, no, I don't have a, then she's going to do a plaque hopefully, or do the text for a plaque about how, Broadway used to be a footpath so connecting the actual physical place, so that's gonna be like a specific narrative, and then she's gonna do like a remembrance.
Just before you go off that, just to
Yeah.
clarify, because I think this is so fascinating. I think you mentioned Broadway. Broadway in New York City connects ultimately to Albany Post Road. And so there is actually, and that used to be a footpath. And so the idea, at least in my head, is we could have some sort of historical plaque, maybe over here where the info booth is, that talks about that. So you can sit and imagine what it might have been like to walk from New York City up through, on your way up to Albany on a road that this pathway has been in existence for a lot longer than we think. So that is one. I just want to, because that really struck me when we talked about that.
It's, definitely like important work, I think, to highlight the histories of the people. Some of this is like, it's already, like, we can find it, it's already here, we know some of those things, so I'm wondering if, like, do we need, like, her job as a historian would be like the research part, but like McCorkran, not that you have all the time in the world, but like, you have design background too. I'm wondering if some of these elements that were, that's being accounted for in this proposal can be things that we can take in-house to still honor the history of the people that lived here, or like fill in, based on my basic research, I did find a decent amount that was already published. So I'm just curious, like, is it, not that I don't think we should do the work and highlight that, but I'm wondering if, I don't know.
And since I cut you off, it
Yeah.
wasn't just that. There was the next piece at the park.
Yeah, the idea that we would make a reflection space at the park.
And some signage with some
Yeah.
history there. I guess I'd pipe in on that. I think, one of the things that's, one of the real benefits to working with Heather is that she is of the Indigenous community. And so in that, we could write something, but do we know if it's written in the right way with the appropriate respect, with the appropriate language? I mean, I think she really brings that in addition to something that you can, find with a certain amount of research. I see that as something that we can do collaboratively. She might propose, let's do it this way, and we might say, well, gee, it might look better if we did it that way. But I think that the sort of fundamental doing it in collaboration with someone in and of the community, I think would be an important part of the project.
It'd just be, I guess, nice to see like I'm having a hard time visualizing what this sort of the physical elements that is being proposed here, because when I looked at her work that is from her website or her talks, it doesn't really have anything that I could find that was similar to this. So I'm having a hard time putting those, like, I can't imagine what it is necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's part of what will come of the work with her. I'm not sure doing historic signs is necessarily her background, but the creating doing the research, putting it together specifically for the Village of Red Hook in a way that we can then take and put into something visual that we see as appropriate for the village. I guess I'd define it that way. And it's not that well defined, and so that's part of the project.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's definitely like important work. I'm just trying to like visualize what it, sort of like the tangible elements of it.
And I guess at that, it's going to be some form of historical narrative on the website. It's going to be, some sort of historical sign that's somewhere along Route 9, and something in Abrams Park. That's what I see from a physical output. And are there anything else out of that we choose to do? I mean, what is that going to look like? The specifics, I don't know, but the specific output of where will this show up, those are the three places that I see it showing up.
Yeah.
Based on the conversations that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add in that?
Only that I think it's important that we do have the input from someone who is part of the Muncie Society to be part of this. We can only imagine what we've already collected as part of the information. But I think someone who's lived in that society and has access to more historical documents, that would be a tremendous benefit. I think not only to the output, but just to the area itself, to the Red Hook area, because I think a lot has been lost through history with our indigenous people. And this is one way, I think, that we can get some of that information.
Great, thank you. So I think, does anybody else have any questions or?
Just one thing to add, and we've mentioned it before, working with BARD I think would be important. And I noticed, Heather is part of the Forge project, which, is connected with BARD. And I know there's been a lot of work trying to connect, and it's not always been easy or responsive getting anything back. But, hopefully with Heather on board, she'd be able to connect with the Indigenous Studies project there, which has a wealth of resources, including students and scholars from the indigenous community, so can cast even a wider net. And hopefully she may be able to be more successful getting some sort of collaboration with BARD, because I know there's a lot of research going on there along the same lines.
I totally agree. I think with her, like you said, cast a wider net, I think that would be most beneficial with having her on board.
Okay, any other questions, comments? I'm going to ask for a motion to authorize me to sign the proposal.
So moved?
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Thank you, Steve. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Okay, on to the basics. We have a renewal of EAP, Employee Assistance Program. This is an annual contract. This is actually required for the Highway Department, and I want to say it's related to perhaps, I should know what it is. It's either related to the CDL license that Jake has, or it's related to the work permit that we have with the state DOT. And it's a good thing to offer. And the cost is on here, $900. It is an increase from last year, but as we all know, medical services, the cost of that is not going down. But this is a program that is available to all of our employees. So I am looking for a motion to authorize me to sign the renewal of this service.
So
Thank you, Kim. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, the next item is, this is a contract for a static IP address for our internet service that goes to the water treatment plant. And the reason why we need this, we have internet to the water treatment plant. It is connected to our alarm system with a, and this is right on the edge of my technical knowledge. Currently we have a dynamic IP address, which means that whichever IP address that's hanging out there that's available, you grab it when you need it. With a static one, we are assigned one that is just for us, and it is consistently one available to us. There are two reasons to have that. One is it makes our alarm system work better, and second, it is actually better practice from a cybersecurity standpoint. It is much harder to hack into a static IP than a dynamic IP. It is $20 a month, and what I'm looking for from you is, the other piece that's positive about this new alarm system that was related to the WIA water project upgrading the SCADA system is this also now means that our water operator can access the system remotely. So when an alarm goes off, he can check what it is that triggered the alarm. And there are some things that you just need to hit a reset button, which he would now be able to do remotely. There are some things that require you to come physically. Right now, he physically has to come anytime there's an alarm. So it would make for a more efficient system. So I am looking for a motion to authorize me to enter into this contract for a static IP address for the internet to the water treatment plant.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Second.
Second?
Thank you. Any questions, concerns, comments?
The only question I had is, did we want the U audit people to look this over before we signed it to make sure it was all on the up and up? I do, like, there are a couple of different
The
effective-
only reason why I would hesitate to agree to that is because it's going to take them a little while to do that. And this is it's not a super long-term contract. What is it, 36 months? Well, I guess that's 3 years. We can always address it if something significant comes up.
Okay.
I mean, they can certainly look at it and say, ooh, I think it's pretty standard from Frontier. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item of business is, this is a resolution that you have in your extra.
Do the other agreement too.
Oh, I assumed I was doing both.
But that's the same thing.
It's both, it's for the same service.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Okay.
Next item is in your separate extra packet. It's related to our village attorney. If you recall, our longtime village attorney, Rich Olson, moved firms in July, and we authorized him as our village attorney, him and Mackie Butts and Wayland as our village attorney through the end of December 2024. And I would like to appoint Kyle Barnett of Vanderwater and Vanderwater as our new village attorney, effective January 1st. I have checked his qualifications. I have spoken with a couple of people who work with him, and I also met with him in his office for about an hour and a half a couple weeks ago. I feel very confident that he would provide us with excellent service, and I am requesting your approval of my appointment through this resolution. And that's, the key is there is a, or did I not include it? There's a, and the main difference, I don't know that I say this here. Yes, so there's an engagement agreement, and the other difference is we would go from $1,685 a month to $1,900 a month retainer. Mr. Olson hadn't increased his retainer amount for certainly not in 3.5 years. And in terms of the difference for the remainder portion of this year, because we have not used his services really very much. He is of counsel, which means that he's not full-time at his new law firm, so we will not have spent several months of the expected retainer. So we have money in our budget for this year for the months that we would use him, and this is not an unusual amount of funding to support our village attorney. So I would request a motion to approve. This would be resolution 43.
So moved?
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions, concerns? I thought, to be honest, I have his engagement letter. It literally just says, you're engaging us as of January 1st. It'll be $1,900 a month. It's for 2025. and he has his rates for different people. I will say one of the things that I appreciated about Mr. Barnett's approach is they're not a small firm. They have a variety of other people who work there, and he seems to have a good sense of when and how to delegate to people who have the expertise that we need in the various different areas that we use. Or if it doesn't need to be him, it can be someone else who might not. But those hourly rates are for extra activities, which I'm sure we'll come up with.
I'm wondering, with his specialty being land use, we have a land use attorney currently, Victoria. Does that in anywhere put in like?
So the intention, the scope of work that he would do is we are not hiring him to do our land use attorney work. However, the good news is he certainly does a lot, and he would be an excellent opportunity as a backup if we needed. But the point of this is to hire him as our basic village attorney, not for land use. Any other questions? Did I get a motion in a second?
You did.
I did. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Okay, village elections. Shockingly, we have village elections coming up in March, and we need to prepare for them. And so this would be resolution 44. And so to Jen's enormous credit, she's on the ball and got election inspectors, and that would be Ellen Treebwasser as the chairperson and Steve Zarchuk as the second, and then the alternate election inspector would be Lori Urban. We just need to assign to follow this process so that we are ready for the village elections. And just to clarify, there are two trustee positions that are up for election this coming March. Any questions? I'd like to have a motion to approve resolution 44.
So moved.
We'll take 1 and 2, Steve and Kim. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
All right, next item is the Town of Red Hook Fire Protection District Fire Service Agreement. We are a party to the town's agreement with the Red Hook Fire Company because the Red Hook Fire Company is located and based in the village of Red Hook. There is an updated version of this agreement in your additional packet. The only thing that changed is a definition of the territory in which the Red Hook Fire Company covers, because the town of Red Hook engages the Red Hook Fire Company and also the Tivoli Fire Company, and so the definitions need to match in both Tivoli and Red Hook Fire Company agreements. And so this was something that didn't match, and so it's just updated. That's the only thing that changed. And actually, you'll see on your updated agreement, you can actually see where it's been changed. It's literally on the first page on it. It's the easterly along Whalesback to Baxter's Corner, and then easterly along Pitcher. And there's a section that's crossed out. And again, that is literally just so that it's exactly the same as what Tivoli has, so that they're not overlapping in any of their territories. I would ask for a motion to approve to authorize me to sign this agreement.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Thank you. Any questions? I will say this is very similar to their prior agreement. It just has some small increases in the larger amount that the town is providing to the Red Hook Fire Company. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay. Oh, I did that wrong.
We need to
I
approve.
think we have a resolution to approve the Town of Red Hook Fire Protection District Fire Service Agreement, so that would be Resolution 45, my apologies. This will not be a motion. It has all the appropriate legalese. Now therefore be it resolved, the Village of Red Hook agrees to the conditions of the contract presented in the Town of Red Hook Fire Protection District Fire Service Agreement, Village of Red Hook for 2025 to 2026. The Village Board authorizes the mayor to sign said contract. So just to do this properly, I'll take a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good catch. Okay, the next one is amendment to the intermunicipal sewer agreement with the Town of Red Hook. This is in your additional packet. And we'll get to this in a couple of items for us. For ARPA spending, which is the American Rescue Protection Act, I believe. This was funding that was provided by the federal government to all municipalities because of COVID. All municipalities are required to obligate their funding by the end of this month. And one way to obligate funding is through an intermunicipal agreement. And so this amendment to the intermunicipal agreement actually puts a dollar amount so that the town has backup for the fact that they have obligated this funding for this work. That is the entire purpose of this amendment. So I would take a motion to approve, wait a minute, resolution,
No, it's not, it's a town resolution.
that's the town resolution, so never mind. So
We just have a motion.
we just have a motion, so I would take a motion to approve the motion,
No, a motion to approve you to sign the
to
agreement.
approve,
That their resolution is just for information.
thank you. So I would take that motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
This doesn't update the sewer, like the IMA that we have, right? It's just actually putting physical numbers and where the funding is coming from.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, the next item, I believe, is an extra. So this is related to the Public Spaces Initiative. There was a donation of seeds from So Right Seeds, estimated at $227. And that goes to the seed library that is housed in the community center. And by law, any donation needs to be accepted by the board. And so I would take a motion to accept the $227 donation of seeds from So Right Seeds.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, the next item is ARPA funding. Okay, hold on. Because this is related to what I just mentioned in that we need to obligate all of our ARPA funding by the end of this month. So what I have done, you have a resolution, I have an amendment to this resolution. This resolution will be number 46. I probably didn't give you this either. So bear with me because it took me a minute to get this all together. So we have obligated, no, I didn't total it that way. So we received $200,101.97 in ARPA funding. One of the things that was frankly wonderful about it is they've already sent us the money. We have it in our bank. That is not typically the way these things go. So at the end of our submission, so we submit once a year, and we submit in April. So after the April submission, we had 119,000 and change remaining to obligate. We had authorized the mini excavator, which is $62,993. We also authorized the Hydrant Buddy container and carport. However, Jake has not yet purchased the container or the carport. Partly he's waiting. There's some construction at Tradition that's still happening, and the best way to get a reasonable price for something that's already here and doesn't need to be delivered is to, at the end of a construction project, say, hey, we'll take that off your hands. But they're not there yet. So what I suggested, and also the Hydrant Buddy, we had an estimate of $5,500 and Jake bought it for $4,300. And so I'm going to go through what I am proposing that we authorize this evening. So the first piece is related to the village building. We've talked about new doors at Prince Street. The doors we have are very heavy. The automatic opener doesn't work. And it just feels like it's time to update those doors. And what I'm proposing, what we talked about, was to replace them with two glass doors, they're not as heavy, and they'll also open it up because it'll be all glass. But in looking at the door, if we just do that and don't do the door up to the staircase, that'll look kind of odd. So I added to the mix, replacing that door as well. And then just painting around the trim, etc., is something we can do in-house. Because we're not going to have a lot of snow this year, we're going to have a lot of extra time for our DPW department to do these things. So I have a quote from Hobson Windows for $15,138.87 for the doors and the installation of those doors. I have a backup. I don't have that quote with me of a higher price, and there is no state contract for doors of this type. I also am proposing the outdoor police phone, and the idea behind that is, I can't remember what we've talked about here, but the idea is if we have a phone outside so that someone can come up to the Prince Street door, lift the receiver, and it will automatically ring upstairs. So if someone is there, they'll answer. If someone is not there, it will roll over to the state police. And want to do a lift and not an intercom because that provides a little bit more privacy in the conversation that they might have. It is the type of thing that is done, for example, Rhinebeck Police has that out front. And we've talked about that in terms of just access. You're a little bit flustered. You're looking for the police. You're not going to read the door or find the button. This is an obvious way to say. And then also, if the village door is locked, often a police officer might be in the building. This way, they can find out without having to press a button and wait and not really understand. Anyway, that's 1,800 installed. We definitely need to do some extra cleaning. So we have a quote. I haven't updated it from 6 months ago, but I'm assuming it'll be in the ballpark. Cleaning, a good cleaning of the rugs, a cleaning of the floors in the kitchens, and really scrubbing the bathrooms. And that's $3,450. The other thing that we've talked about that I would like to proceed with your approval is changing out the water fountains in the building to the kind that, and I'm sure you've all seen it. Let me find the right page because I looked at a bunch. It's literally the one where you put your you've got a water bottle the water fountain at the bottom. It is ADA compliant. I believe that the size, the height of the water fountain itself is the lower height, not the higher height. And I'm also proposing that we purchase 2 backup filters, because I think it's the filters. We currently purchase water because there's a question about the taste of the water, et cetera. That should go away. I would eliminate the purchased water. And I think this is just a good thing to do. They cost $2,000 each. There will also be shipping. So, and did I put that in there? The replacement filter is $115. So I am recommending that we purchase 2 of these because we have one on the first floor, one on the second floor, and 2 replacement filters. And that's roughly $4,500. So those are the improvements to the village building that I am proposing. And then the next, we've already approved planning work by Nelson Pope and Voorhees. And the agreement that we have with them, they estimated that the project would cost $25,000, and we had originally approved $15,000 in their budget. I have an estimate of the remaining work to do that comes out to $11,000. And if you want to see that, this also has their agreement in the back, if you want to see that. So I'm proposing we just use ARPA funding for that, because we've already authorized the work. This then commits us to the additional $11,000. And then the other items we've actually already purchased. One is the police car repeaters for the radio. I don't know if you recall, when an officer gets out of their car, they have a remote radio attached to their uniform. And they get the radio signal from the car. And what we added was a repeater that made for better reception when they're out of the car. As you might imagine, if you're in a situation, you're calling for backup, your radio isn't transmitting very well. That was why we authorized that. So we have paid $6,180, and I'm proposing that we use ARPA funding for that. And then we purchased a water leak detector for $4,000 and change. We installed a dry well on Cherry Street to resolve a water drainage issue, and we hired Vosberg for $2,500. We purchased, I believe it's two bell clamps that was related to a water leak that we had and fixed on Cherry Street, and that's just shy of $1,400. And then we purchased a service line pulling kit, which when replacing a service water line, if you're able to pull it under the ground, you don't have to dig a trench. We needed to do that in a particular situation. Jake looked into renting one. The rental was going to cost $1,500, so I said just buy the thing for $1,700. So we can also use ARPA funding for that. The other piece of information, we had authorized the purchase of the solar radar speed signs through ARPA. I will not have the exact product that we are approved to purchase from DOT by the end of December. So I would like to. We can still do that. We would just need to use different funding for those signs. And the benefit, the benefit to using these things is it will just create space in our fund balance that we don't have otherwise. So that was a lot. Do you all have questions, comments, thoughts?
So based upon all of these, I'm assuming this fully utilizes our remaining ARPA balance?
Yes, and actually there's, it even, the last, like the service line pulling kit is $1,700. If everything comes in at exactly the amount here, there's about $700 that it goes over. So that gives us some flexibility. So for example, the wastewater treatment plant capacity study, they billed us shy of 42 cents, so we can throw in that 42 cents to make it even. But yes, that covers the entire amount we have left. So the one thing that I did poorly here, I updated the resolution to reflect everything I just said. It's got all the, well, let me read it to you since you don't, you have the copy that you have is close, but I added a few things. This is a resolution to authorize various purchases using ARPA funding. Whereas the Village of Red Hook has remaining ARPA funds available that must be obligated by December 31st, 2024 and expended by December 31st, 2026. Whereas the board previously approved the purchase of a container and carport to create additional storage for the DPW, but these items have not yet been purchased. And the authorized hydrant buddy cost $1,200 less than the $5,500 authorized. Whereas the board has discussed various projects for improvements to Village Hall, including extra cleaning services, replacing the Prince Street doors, adding a telephone direct to the police department outside the Prince Street door, and changing the water fountains to water fountains with bottle fillers that refrigerate and filter. And whereas the board initially approved a planning agreement with Nelson Pope and Voorhees for zoning work in the northeast quadrant of the village with a budget of $15,000, which was resolution number 50, 2023, and NPV, Nelson Pope and Voorhees, estimates the remaining work as estimated in their 9/18/23 letter of agreement to be about $10,860. And whereas the police radios, when remote from the police cars, were not always reliable, so we purchased repeaters to be added to the police cars for better reception when the officers were outside of their cars for $6,180. Whereas a water leak detector has been purchased for $4,013.77. A dry well was installed on Cherry Street to rectify a water drainage issue for $2,500. A service line pulling kit was purchased for $1,715.25 for the water department, and all can be paid for with ARPA funds. And whereas the board acknowledges that the previously approved solar radar speed signs will not be able to be obligated prior to the December 31st, 2024, due to the need to have New York State DOT approval prior to purchase. Therefore, these signs will need to be removed from the ARPA spending list to be reauthorized when the final has been approved and a new budget and funding source established. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees authorizes the following. The purchase of new doors for Prince Street as per the proposal from Hobson Windows, Inc., not to exceed $15,200. Purchase and installation of a telephone outside the Prince Street door that will ring directly into the police department as per the proposal from Superior Telephone Systems, not to exceed $1,800. Contracting with Vanguard Cleaning Services, the village's cleaning service, to provide extra one-time cleaning services of high-pressure steam clean of all carpets, scrub kitchen floors, scrub tile and grout in all bathrooms, and window cleaning for not to exceed $3,500. The purchase of 2 LK drinking fountains with bottle filler, on-wall, refrigerated and filtered to replace the existing drinking fountains, not to exceed $4,500. Authorize the additional spending of up to $11,000 for Nelson Pope and Voorhees zoning work. Authorize the water leak detector, the dry well installation, and the service line pulling kit to be funded by ARPA. Rescind the approval for the solar radar speed sign, $15,000, and the container, $2,300, and carport, $2,000 to be funded. Rescind the approval to be funded by ARPA funding. Be it further resolved that these purchases will be made using ARPA funding. There's probably duplication of statement in there, but that is the resolution. I will tell you that I have to obligate, like I have to sign the agreements in order to make them obligated, but I need to get your approval that I can do that. So I take a motion to approve this resolution, which is resolution 46.
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
You go ahead.
There you go, Stephen Melcorca. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, I will say. I spent a fair amount of time trying to figure out how to make sure this all works because we were not giving any money back to the government. So, yes, we are the government, but we weren't giving any of it back. Thank you. I think I'm excited about the Prince Street improvements. I also talked to Jake this morning about possibly doing a little power wash so the extra green might go away, which would be nice. He said, yeah, I don't think the building's been cleaned since that section was built. So if it warms up a little, I think he's gonna put it on their agenda to take care of. Okay, that's a big deal. Thank you. No budget adjustments for tonight. Just want to point out that our workshop meeting is December 19th. Because our regular scheduled meeting would be on the day after Christmas, day after a holiday. Our next board meeting is January 13th, just so you have your calendars ready. And now we are ready for our fine treasurer, Miss Urban, for the treasurer's report.
Good evening, everybody. So this is our treasurer's report for this evening. The account balances that we have as of the end of November, so 11/30/24, our general fund, $1,468,299.91. Our water fund has $406,540.73. Payroll clearing account, $47,994.27. The sewer fund has $197,307.71. Hardscrabble fund, $4,350.12. The Village Green has $8,134.37. Health insurance fund, $12,680.23. And our petty cash has $52.93. The reserve checking balances are fire department, $10,394.41. Police, $17,861.01. The USDA has $145,328.83. Highway reserve, $596.41. Snow reserve, $3,431.95. Tower reserve, $18,534.87. Unemployment reserve, $7,352.04. The court reserve has $3,451.95, and the office reserve has $1,017.73. Expenditures for the month of November were the general fund, $113,671.86. Water fund, $150,151.11. Payroll clearing account, $2,605.50. And the sewer fund, $6,775.71. Sincerely, Lori Urban.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and just to clarify, so the general fund with $1,004,000, that is due to, that's a lot. Is that due to the fact that the tax payments have all come in and that will cover our annual expenses?
Yeah, it's actually down a little bit from the previous month, so it's moving downward, but yes, I mean, what you're saying is essentially true. We have everything in the coffers now, and then as we move toward the end of May, that general fund is just going to continue to decline with our normal day-to-day operating expenses.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
You got Charlie and Kim on that one. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. There we go. Okay, next. Next is me. Like this. Like that. Okay. I'm actually going to start with my police report, which is normal. This is for October. So I have both October and November police reports because we didn't have October at our last meeting. So for October, we had 428 incidents. The Village of Red Hook was 236. Town of Red Hook was 165. and the Village of Tivoli was 27. We had 108 water tower security checks. We had 95 uniform traffic tickets. Of those, 62 were in the Village of Red Hook, 25 in the town of Red Hook, and 8 in the Village of Tivoli. Parking tickets, 27 were in the Village of Red Hook, none in the town, and 9 in the Village of Tivoli. There were 10 arrests, 7 in the Village of Red Hook, 2 in the town of Red Hook, and 1 in the Village of Tivoli. In November, the number of incidents was 327, which included 163 in the Village of Red Hook, 146 in the town of Red Hook, and 18 in the Village of Tivoli. There were 108 water tower security checks. There were 89 uniform traffic tickets. Of those, 61 were in the Village of Red Hook, 25 were in the town of Red Hook, and 3 were in the Village of Tivoli. And parking tickets, there were 15 in the Village of Red Hook, none in the town, and 41 in the Village of Tivoli. There were 3 arrests, 1 in each of the Village of Red Hook, the town of Red Hook, and the Village of Tivoli. Okay, the next item I actually have for you, I got the last 3 months of fire incidents. So in the month of, oh, did I give away to head one for you? No, that's, oh yeah, that's for you. So in the month of September, there were a total of 23 incidents in the village. There were 78 in the town, and in the village, the vast majority were under the 300s, the EMS, rescue, medical assist type calls. So that of the 23, 17 were those. 4 were alarms and the like, and 2 were assist an invalid person in distress service call. In October, there were 31, 21 of which were the EMS type calls, 7 were the alarm type calls, and 3 were the assist invalid person in distress service call. And then in November, there were 24, so 18 of which were EMS type calls, 4 were alarms, 1 was the assist invalid, and 1 was a smoke scare, good intent call. So to date, with 1 month left, 28% of the calls were in the village. And I don't think I did a yes. Of total incidents, no, that's not it. Yeah, no, I was looking at the percent that's each of these, and this is not that. So we'll have a summary. I'll have a summary for the year at the January meeting. But that's it for fire report. Nice to have those up to date. And then under my report, just starting with the sewer project, sewer project 1. We are still waiting for the single audit. We should be receiving a draft this month. And there's one final WMBE report from Carver Construction that needs to be finalized and filed with EFC. Sewer expansion phase 2, we're working on an income survey to increase our chances of of qualifying for the bipartisan infrastructure funding and other grants as well. Abraham's Park Task Force. The original group met on November 15th to get back together and review where we are. It's been several months since we met. We will be adding a couple of members to the team. We had some preliminary feedback from the surveys, and we actually met last week, which I will report on at the next meeting. But the surveys, I believe we had 115 surveys returned, which we were very, very pleased with. We've got some good data from there that we will share. I'll share at the next meeting. The UPSCU contract negotiations, as you know, with the board's approval at our November 21st meeting, I've signed both MOUs for the DPW and the police union contracts. And these contracts are for 6/1/24 going through 5/31/27. And the MOU for Officer Lawson we dealt with earlier this evening. The WIA projects, the water projects, the SCADA controls upgrade. Just the remaining items, the chlorine analyzer has arrived and been installed. System training remains to be completed. Obtaining the static IP address we addressed. And so that is, with that approval, that will finalize that piece and get the alarm system completely finalized. And just as a reminder summary, Avanti Construction is the contractor. The original cost for this project was $416,700. There was a deduct change order, and so the final contract amount is $390,078. Cherry and Grave Street water main replacement. The physical work is complete. We are reviewing the final numbers now. The contractor is Amity Construction. The original bidded cost for this project is $1,003,560. I will say in those final numbers, it looks like this contract it might go over this contract number, but we are looking carefully at those numbers. And then the water tank rehabilitation. This project is now complete, except for a contracted annual inspection to take place next summer. The contractor is Worldwide Industries. Contract cost for this project is $373,500. The deduct change order is for $13,100. You all approved that a couple months ago, and that makes the final contract amount $360,400. Other water projects, the lead line inventory. As required, we notified all customers for whom we do not have all information on their water line, including the homeowner's service line. And if a portion is not identified, we must say per law that it could be lead. At this time, there are no known lead service lines or water mains in the village's water system. And a big thank you to Jen Cavanaugh, who handled all of this communication. She really went above and beyond, so thank you. The inventory remains a living document that we will continue to update. If anyone received a letter saying that they had unknown service lines, feel free to contact us to find out how you can identify what they are so that we can update your information on our inventory. Dutchess County Transportation Council. There was a virtual meeting on October 30th. The meeting began with a presentation from consultants Cambridge Systematics, who are working on a comprehensive traffic safety study that will become part of the county's safety action plan. They reviewed grant awards, including an FTA Section 5310 Program Award to Devereaux Foundation for replacement buses. I mentioned that because Devereaux is in the town of Red Hook. They also reviewed upcoming funding opportunities, and I know that Milcorca has some information on the safety action plan that she'll share. Red Hook Library. I was not able to attend the November library board meeting because it conflicted with our village workshop meeting, but I can report that they have completed, if you haven't noticed, they completed their construction projects, which including replacing the stucco facade, restoring the porch, and refurbishing their teen space. They reviewed a form for the director's evaluation. They presented initial work from the Strategic Planning Committee and shared a draft 2025 budget. You can find their board packet that has the information that was shared at the meeting on the library's website, redhooklibrary.org/Board of Trustees. And just a few other items. Day of the Dead was an event that was held on November 2nd at Hardy Roots Farm, formerly Cookingham East. This event was put on by Cultivar Community Farm and the Red Hook Community Center. I hope many of you were able to attend. It was a wonderful event, and I believe it was the empanada that I had, whatever it was delicious. Megabrain had a ribbon cutting. I attended the November 7th ribbon cutting for Megabrain, which was hosted by the Red Hook Chamber of Commerce. Megabrain is a new store in the village that opened in May. Very welcoming, wonderful stuff there. We wish them well. Village tree planting. I joined many volunteers on November 9th to help plant new trees around the village. I know that Kim will share more about that, I believe, in her report. Veterans Day. Red Hook VFW Post 7765 held their annual Veterans Day ceremony on November 11th at 11 a.m. at Memorial Park. It was a moving ceremony with words from their new commander, John Conroe, music from veteran Dave Furrow, and a special tribute to the Vietnam veterans by the Boy Scout Troop 42. And then Taconic Resources had a press event honoring Tivoli Mayor Joel Griffith. On November 14th, I chauffeured Mayor Griffith and joined in to honor him for his leadership in focusing on ADA compliance where possible in Tivoli. And for those of you who may not have heard, Mayor Griffith has indicated that he will not be running for re-election in March after 10 years as mayor. So we wish him well and are very grateful for his service to Tivoli. He has been an incredibly supportive fellow mayor in the town of Red Hook, and I've appreciated very much working with him, and I'm grateful that I still have 3 months left of him as mayor. And he's not moving away either, so I plan to get his number. So that's it for my report. I think that's everything I need to report on. So on to Deputy Mayor Kjarval.
Great. Okay. Red Hook Together. The November meeting was held in person at the community center, and the December meeting was held in person at Historic Red Hook. I was not able to attend either meeting. I was out of town one month, and my toddler was sick the other.
Actually, I think I can pitch in. I think it was the November meeting that I attended, and Red Hook Together is an opportunity for people to share what's happening in and around the village. But in particular for November, the organization Honor SOS was able to stop in. I'd actually seen them earlier in the day, and I said, "Oh, you should come by." They're an organization that's contracted with Dutchess County to support people with substance abuse issues and mental health issues. And they were in town looking to see if they could find and speak with some of the folks who are here in our area who are without housing. And so it was a great opportunity for them to introduce themselves.
So the Red Hook Town Economic Development Committee meets bi-weekly at the Village Hall on the second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 8:40 a.m. The committee met on November 13th, and the conversation focused mostly on the town moratoriums. They did not hold their second scheduled meeting due to it being the day before Thanksgiving. The committee also held a special meeting on December 4th at the KDA offices to discuss the new town's proposed zoning laws, specifically around the retail cannabis zoning restrictions. And I was not available for that meeting either. Dutchess County Safety Action Plan Advisory Committee. There was a meeting held on November 20th where the consultant team discussed next steps and the results of their many outreach efforts. The county has created a dedicated webpage for the Safety Action Plan resources and updates at dutchessny.gov/safety action plan. Under the heading Participate, with an exclamation point, you can find the links to a transportation safety survey, an interactive safety map where you can report safety concerns, and a link to register for a virtual meeting being held on December 19th at noon.
Is that meeting, is that a public hearing, or is that for public comment, or it's just to hear what they have to present? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I think that people can submit, but I don't know how much time they will have for the public forum. I guess it depends on how many people attend.
Gotcha.
But I do know that they want as much participation and feedback as possible. So if people have personal experiences with traffic that they do not like in the village of Red Hook, please share it. That's really helpful to us. So, yeah. And there's 3 different ways to do it, which is great. The Village of Red Hook Communications Committee meets every first Wednesday of the month at 1:30 p.m. in the Village Hall Conference Room. There's been some progress on ongoing projects. We completed the annual recycling calendar and updated the dual stream recycling guide. New this year is a sheet that illustrates all the various waste collection options available to village residents and businesses. And that's, it's been attached to my reports. You can see them. They're black and white, but the garbage one didn't show up. Oh, interesting. Anyway.
This one?
No, there's one on all the new waste options. And that sheet did not show up, but it's on the website, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, maybe I didn't, maybe this, I don't know. Anyway.
Just get us all to go to the website, that's all.
Yes. It's good because we've increased the amount of services and because we want to be able to allow people to use our services easier. So basically, it's just explaining all the different options we have. We discussed the goal of getting quotes from various platforms for the redesign of the village website in 2025. We discussed the process of switching to a .gov address with Larry, our IT specialist. We decided to officially shut down the village's defunct Twitter account and take the link off the village website. We discussed researching other municipalities' social media policies in the aims of creating an official social media policy. And we made a plan of where we hope to distribute the What the Village Does for You brochures and brochure holders. We'll also be working with Recite Me to make the Recite Me app more visible on the village website. And also I was glad to see that the survey we assisted the PSI Abraham's task force with pulled in 123 responses. That's an exciting amount of data and engagement from the community. The Village of Red Hook Human Relations Committee meets every first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. in the Village Hall conference rooms. Both November and December's meeting were canceled due to availability of the members. On December 5th, Linda Duval and I had a Zoom conversation about the ongoing Indigenous History Project and Trustee Appenziller's suggestions on recontacting Associate Professor for Bard College Center for Indigenous Studies, Christian Ann Crouch. I sent an email out on Friday morning updating Professor Crouch on our progress and inquiring about possible collaboration or support from Bard College. Also now, as winter gets colder, the Red Hook Thrift Shop, Red Hook Christ Church, and Tivoli St. Paul and Trinity Church are accepting unused supplies for the emergency winter care kits. For a full list of acceptable items to donate and or who to contact regarding donations, please visit the Community Bulletin Board section on the Village Board website homepage. The Village Public Works Department scrap metal program. Revenue received since my last report was $589.90. Total revenue for the fiscal year, June 2024 through May 2025 to date is $3,376.90.
Just as a note, the budget, I believe, is $4,500, so we're well on our way to hitting the budget.
That's great. Since the program's inception in September 2007, donations have yielded a total of $58,239.74, and this all goes to purchasing tools and equipment for the Public Works Department. Yard waste and leaf pickup. The Public Works Department has suspended yard waste and leaf pickup for the season. Yard waste pickup will resume in the spring. A big thank you goes to Jake Smith, our Public Works foreman, for leaf clearing, as he is a driver of the leaf truck. All the wonderful trees we have throughout the village lead to a lot of leaves to pick up. Snow removal and seasonal parking rules. Now that we've entered snow season, please remember that there is no overnight parking on village streets and that items may get damaged by plow trucks if they're left on the street edge. Also, if you have a sidewalk adjacent to your property, you are required to keep it clear of snow and ice within 24 hours after the end of a winter storm. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, Trustee Lang.
Yes. Let's start with materials management report for the month of November. So in November, the Village Highway Department collected 2.25 tons of recycling, which was made up of 1.01 tons of commingled, 0.41 tons of cardboard, and 0.83 tons of paper. The village also collected 3 tons of garbage, which was transported to Accra at a total cost of $376.30. $355 of that was tipping fees, and then there's $21.30 fuel surcharge. The village also paid $246.63 in monthly fees for the use of the Welsh dumpster service. And happily, in the month of November, there was no contaminated recycling, which is always a joy to behold. So keep it up. That's really helpful. Over the course of the month, the village collected $2,748 from the sale of garbage tags, and that's broken down as follows: $1,326 from Village Hall, $1,200 from Taste Buds, and $222 from the Red Hook Public Library, all places where you can purchase tags. Next up, water treatment facilities report. So during the month of November, the water treatment facility treated 7,207,000 211 gallons, which is an average of 240,234 gallons per day. That seems like a pretty normal level of usage over the course of the year. We sent out 3 samples for bacteriological testing, and they all came back clean. There was no presence of coliform or E. coli bacteria. That was all absent. And during the month of November, the water treatment plant used 75 gallons of sodium hypochlorite. That comes to an average daily use of 2.4 gallons per day. The Saltkill Watershed Community. The Saltkill Watershed Community Leadership Committee met via Zoom on Wednesday, November 19th. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, but at the meeting they reviewed their checklists and dates for the watershed community activities and projects, discussed the resurrection of the newsletter, and they talked about updates to website maintenance, Benner Road neighbour issues to the Saltkill trip, and an ongoing question about the Redwood Golf Course and a dam they have on the Saltkill. The next meeting for the Saltkill Watershed Community will be on Wednesday, December 18th, and it will be via Zoom again. I am not aware of any meetings of the Community Preservation Fund Committee, but I really should check in with our contact there to see what has changed as far as the balance of the CPF. And
So, Charlie,
Yeah.
I actually contacted Ann Conroy at the town. Conway, sorry, so that's that Roy thing that I got going. It's actually gone down slightly, so it's 2,928,130.77. You're copied on the email.
okay.
But she indicated that's before the funding of 2 projects already committed.
Okay, so it's going to go down a bit further. Good, it's there to be used. And that's it from me.
Do you get to report on the
Oh,
utility billing?
yes, I do. Which is right here. Utility billing report for November. So there were $655.31 of bills issued, $1,217.13 in penalties / finance charges issued. We received $34,688 in utility payments. And as far as accounts receivable outstanding to the village as of December 1st, $22,445.89. And there were no bill adjustments in the month of November.
Can I ask a question about this? The 655, that's because, are those late bills that go out?
Those are usually like final water bills, like if you're moving.
Okay, that makes sense. Because this is out of the
Out of
total.
cycle.
Yeah, makes sense.
Question. Okay, on to Trustee Bradley Ricard.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice apparently. For the Village Green Committee, we had our fall planting day, as Mayor Smythe mentioned earlier, and we had an amazing turnout. We had about 20 volunteers.
It was early November, right?
Sorry, November. Yeah, just November.
Just checking.
It was definitely November. It was the 9th. We had about 20 volunteers, residents, both new and old, and BARD students who are actively looking to engage with the village, which was exciting, and we're happy to have them. We planted 10 trees pretty quickly and then had our luncheon afterward, where we had delicious sandwiches, salads, and sides by the new business in town, Catalina's Deli and Market. As always, we're looking to add trees to our village streets. residents and businesses interested in having a tree planted on their adjacent village street or New York State highway right-of-ways, volunteering for planting days, or sponsoring a village green committee beautification project can contact myself or Jen Kavanaugh. And we are actively recruiting members for the village green committee, so if you're interested in giving back to your community but don't have a lot of time, this might be the perfect committee for you. For the sewer department, with the severe drought that was here during November, the stream that the wastewater treatment plant jumps into was dry. We were using this time to evaluate the output of the plant. It also gives us the opportunity to see the differences between the high water levels and the low or non-existent levels of the stream. We've been adding more nutrients to the anoxic tank to help dilute out the bad bacteria by creating food for the good bacteria and the higher pH and less odor in the plants. We're also increasing our soda ash to 100 pounds per day, which is what we were doing before. And changing up our process during the low water season allows us to help address some of the potential odor. Furthermore, we're discussing ways to keep the bacteria levels at a consistent level to keep a healthy plant. We meet every other Friday. If you have concerns about the expansion and or currently in the sewer use area and have comments, please don't hesitate to reach out. There's also an expression of interest form up on our website if you're wanting to connect into the sewer, in which case we need capacity, and it will put you on our list of places to consider and on our radar. And for current sewer rates for the month of October, since we are a month behind for that, the required samples that went out were all within compliance, and we still have the sand filters in the original plant that haven't been replaced and need to be reviewed as part of our sewer phase 2 project. And our backflow preventer is currently in need of replacement. We did an average 9,000 gallons per day in the Red Hook Commons plant and 38,000 gallons per day in the new wastewater treatment plant. For the speed limit initiative, we have requested further advisement on movement for this initiative. Things appear to be changing in regard to qualifying parameters from the state. However, in the meantime, we're working to get our solar speed signs
Approved.
Approved by DOT before we get them installed on routes coming into the village. For the Town of Red Hook Greenway and Trails Committee, the Greenway and Trails Committee met last month, and most of the meeting was spent talking about fires in the area, particularly the one that graced the Mountain Loop Trail at Linden and Rec Park West off of Linden Avenue. For the Sauk Hill Trail, blazing is under design with the Winnicke Land Trust. And additionally, there was a conversation with a representative from the CAC about signage in the farm trails and other trails in the area, particularly looking at signage with a story. They discussed the idea of carving out the mountain peaks over to the Catskills and pointing them out and the history to the land, as well as their names. And for Climate Smart Communities, we're actively seeking members and hope to have a standing meeting on the book soon. And that is it for my reports.
Can I ask a question? What's the, what are the different parameters for the village speed limit being changed? How are they, has the state changed it?
Our engineer, correct me if I'm wrong, Karen was stating that instead of using the 85th percentile for designating general speeds, they were potentially changing what they were going to use for their average. And that would take into effect when we look at our traffic reports, when we pull the numbers for the number of people who are speeding, what is considered normal might be considered an outlier after the changes which are supposed to go into effect in the beginning of the year. So it's the way in which they calculate what is considered normal parameters.
And do they anticipate that it would go more in our favor, the new calculations, or less in our favor?
He didn't say. Because he's also pulling new data. He was updating the data because the original draft pulled data from early 2020. And so, in which case, most of the village was sort of, as most of the world was, on lockdown, so it wasn't a regular traffic pattern. So with the updated request, we're looking at newer data that would take that data, which would be considered an outlier, out of the picture. So he has to reassess.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, on to Trustee Appenzeller.
Good evening. We have the zoning and planning reports for both October and November. October was not available for our last meeting. In October, there were 15 building permits issued, 1 certificate of occupancy, 5 certificates of compliance, and 7 municipal searches. There were no orders to remedy, no stop work orders, no do not occupy notices, and no court appearances. There were 2 complaints, 7481 South Broadway, which was a flag outside of the tattoo shop, and 47-51 East Market Street. There was an issue with a porch in need of repairs. There were 3 fire inspections. The planning board had an October 17th meeting which reviewed a site plan for 25 Fisk Street, and that was tabled to the November 14th meeting. And the Zoning Board of Appeals had no meeting because there were no items on the agenda. The total fee revenue for the activities in October were $3,220. For November, there were 16 building permits issued, 1 certificate of occupancy, 12 certificates of compliance, and 1 municipal search. There were no orders to remedy, no stop work orders, no do not occupy notices, no court appearances, and there was 1 complaint for 7483 South Broadway, which was related to fire safety, and a violation was issued and subsequently remedied. And there were 4 fire inspections in the month of November. Planning Board had a site plan and public hearing for St. John Street tabled to the December 12th meeting. The site plan for 25 Fisk Street was approved by resolution, and the site plan for 7484 South Broadway was also tabled to the December 12th meeting when a public hearing will be scheduled. The Zoning Board of Appeals November 7th meeting date was changed due to Thanksgiving holiday, and an area variance for 15 Church Street was tabled to November 21st when a public hearing was scheduled. And at that meeting, 2 variances were approved for that property. Total fee revenue for the activity during the month was $2,253. So for the Public Spaces Initiative, again, just as a reminder, the mission is to develop and facilitate creation of public park, art, and community spaces throughout the village of Red Hook. Public meetings are held on the 4th Saturday of each month at 10 a.m. here at Village Hall. The October meeting was not held because of time conflict with the Pumpkins in the Park event, and the final meeting of the year took place Saturday, November 23rd at Village Hall. There were a couple of topics discussed. One was the Seed Library, and again, as a reminder, that's located at the Red Hook Community Center and was moved to a more accessible location earlier this year. And really, as a seed exchange, it's starting to get traction. Members are dropping off seeds that they harvest from their plants at the end of the season, and all about promoting, gardens, and kind of consistent with some of the things encouraged through the Climate Smart Community activities. One activity that we need to look at and follow up on is a review of an agreement between the community center and the village. So there's a look taking place as to where that is, because I think the last update we had, the ball was in the community center court to provide a draft that we would be able to review and make sure everything is appropriate and that the risk, for the village is known and maintained at a low level. The Repair Cafe is an activity that the Public Spaces Initiative participates in, and the team will be at the next Repair Cafe on January 25th at the Community Center with a Repair Your Garden table, which will provide information on winter garden activities. Even though there may be snow or the ground may be frozen, work can still take place about soil amendments, making sure the soil is ready for planting when spring does come around. seed starting for those things which are best started indoors, and helping people with information about planning for their garden layouts. The next activity that was discussed was Village Hall garden planning, and discussions have been ongoing on an initiative to plant pollinator plants around the municipal lot or Village Hall. And again, trying to triangulate between, the design, budget, and maintenance considerations. One possible site which was discussed was near the electric vehicle charging station. But again, that's very preliminary. There's a lot of issues that need to be taken into account for the right area. And there's some areas probably closer to Village Hall, existing planters and so forth, that may be perhaps more appropriate. And we're looking to set up a meeting to get everyone in the same room and kind of talk about what those parameters are. So when springtime does come around, hopefully planting can take place and help beautify the area right around where we are right now. And the last topic discussed was Abraham's Park, and as mentioned, the October Pumpkins in the Park event was a very successful event, well received for the fun activities, and I think also equally important, it provided a reason for a lot of people to visit Abraham's Park for the first time, and there were quite a few attendees who had never visited and were excited to learn about the park, and especially the new connections to the trails which have recently opened up. And as the mayor had mentioned, the PSI group has been involved with some of the strategic planning discussions, and look forward to continued engagement with this process. And the last thing is just a quick planning update. The village's planner, Nelson Pope and Voorhees, has prepared an initial draft of zoning language to amend the existing code to create a Gateway North zoning district where the proposed mixed-use project on and adjacent to the Cookingham East property will be located. And once initial conversations on this draft have been completed, a revised document will be made available for further review, and public community discussions and public hearings will be a part of this review process. And on December 11th, on Wednesday, there's going to be a meeting with RUPCO, the potential obtainable housing developer, on the southern portion of the Gateway site to discuss zoning and infrastructure issues. And that's the end of my report.
Great. Okay, I realize that I have one other issue that I'd like to discuss with you all. For the language access grant, we were granted a year's extension, so through 2025. And one of the things that we had done at the outset of the language access grant was to engage Recite Me, which is a program that you put on your website that allows for either the website to be read aloud to you or to translate it into different languages, making it more accessible for those to use the website. Our contract with them is about to be up, and we have a one-year extension for the language access grant. This grant was done in collaboration with the village library, and so what I would like to talk to you about is what I'd like to do is to get your approval to extend for 12 months the Recite Me for both the village website and the library website, because that will be covered by the language access grant. My real question for you all is, and we have some interaction with Recite Me. I do get reports every month. It's not a lot, but it is certainly some. And Recite Me the county has that on their website, and many of the municipalities in Dutchess County and other counties are using Recite Me. And my question for you is, would you be open to a 24-month or a 2-year term for the village's website? It's cheaper to do a 2-year contract than a 1 year. It's annually cheaper to do a 2-year contract. So let me give you the numbers. So a 1-year contract is $850 per website. If we do a 2-year contract, it's $809 per year per website. So we would save, what is that, $40 a year. And so I can choose, we can choose to do just the 1 year for the 2 websites, or we can choose to do 2 years for the village and 1 year for the library. Thoughts?
Is there a reason why, if we were thinking about doing 2 years for the village, we wouldn't do 2 years for the library as well?
Well, the 1 year for the village, for the library and the village is paid for by our language access grant, but it only extends for a year. So the second year would be something that if the library is interested in continuing beyond a year, I can talk to them about, and we could do a 2-year contract, but they would have to engage the second year of that.
Right.
And I don't have an answer for you as to what they're interested in, but I know that we, the village, makes sense for us to pay this year, but not the second. So that's why.
If a 2-year term is elected, is it staged where the payments are made each year, or you pay for the full 2-year term up front?
We can do either. One thing that I would plan to do is to check in with the county on the mid-grant to see if we pay it all now, can we cover that in the grant? The question is, the grant ends the end of next year, but the Recite Me would then go for another year. So I'm not sure if that would be acceptable if they just cut that in half. So, but yes, they will bill us annually, bill us both in one. They'll do whatever we ask. I've asked all those. I have 18 different versions of what we could do. Other thoughts as to what you'll, and so I guess the other point would be that the second year for the village would be paid for by the village and not covered under the grant.
I think it's a great idea.
Anybody else? So then I guess I'll put it as a motion. I take a motion to authorize me to enter into a contract with Recite Me for a 2-year term for the village website and a 1-year term for the library website. How's that? Motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Thank you. Any other, public comment? We did our executive session. I need a motion to approve vouchers upon
Bills after audit.
bills after audit. Thank you. You'd think I'd know that by now. I need a motion.
So moved?
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will mention that the vouchers are upstairs in the conference room, and you have until 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning, right?
Yes.
Anybody else have anything else? One other thing I do have to add. Kyle Stribe is coordinating the parade of lights through the village this coming Saturday. If you remember, it is basically a parade of various trucks and vehicles that are all lit up and decorated. And they go from Firehouse Lane. They will go through Red Hook Estates. They will go up Route 9. They will go across Park Avenue. They will go up Linden Avenue to they end in College Park. It's the other Linden Acres. And then they end in College Park. They kick off at 6 p.m. and it's always quite festive when they're parading through the village. So 2 things. 1, enjoy the show. 2, there will also be 2 food trucks between roughly 4 and 7 on Saturday. It'll be Cider Brothers and Misto's. So half of the parking lot will be closed off so that they can have their food trucks set up there. So come to the village, support the village businesses and enjoy the show. And also remember that there are going to be a whole boatload of trucks driving through the village, so it might not be as easy to go through the village between 6 and 7:30. So just keep that in mind. There'll be some reminders, but just be aware. And anything else?
Just wishing for good weather.
Yes. Maybe a little bit of snow to add to the festivities. I would then take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.